Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? Good. Everybody super chipper? Ready to get started for today? All right. So, being that we're going first, obviously we have to liven everybody up, right? So, hopefully, Lindsay and I, with our vibrant personalities,
I thought we were going to do an icebreaker. I thought that's what you were getting ready to do. I was like, I'm not ready.
We are the icebreaker.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Like,
But what we are going to talk about today is branding. So, who in here has what they consider a brand for their business and their organization? Some of us kind of, yes, most of us. Okay. So we're going to kind of dive into that a little bit today, kind of let you know. Okay. We're
going to wing
we'll
it?
let it get called up.
This projector has not been our friend today. We'll wait and see if we can get the presentation up.
Yeah.
If we don't have it, I'll just have to hold up like all of our stuff.
We'll take it around to the tables.
So this is where we're going to do some karaoke. I'm just kidding.
If y'all had heard Lindsay's singing voice, you would thank me for that, for her kidding.
Don't stop
No.
believing. Hold on to that feeling. That's why you don't give me a microphone either.
All right, so while we're waiting for that to come up, what are some things that come to mind when you think about brand? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Consistent. Yeah.
Consistent, absolutely. Anything else? Recognition.
Yeah.
That is a huge part, and we'll go into a lot of that today. And a lot of times too, most of our organizations have something that we consider a logo, whether or not it just kind of happened haphazardly or it was done on purpose. Usually a business has some sort of logo, and that's kind of your first piece, and then you tend to build off of that. So really with brand, it is our identity. It's our foundation. It's our marketing. It's our practice. And again, being consistent, that consistency, trying not to veer from that as much as possible.
It takes it a second.
Okay, so I'll just keep on going, and then we'll catch the slides up once that comes up and going. So if you can think about an iceberg and picture that, typically with an iceberg, you have a large piece that sticks up out of the water, but then you have a substantially larger piece under the water that you don't always see, right? So if you can kind of picture that large piece that's sticking out of the water that you visibly see, that's your logo, right? That's something that we see every time, hopefully, we do anything related to our business. But there's so much more that goes into it underneath the surface. So it's the promise of and the experiences that you develop. It's all those pieces that most people don't always see, or they don't see on the surface, but when they look at your organization, it's very visible whether or not it's in their face or not. So it's those experiences that you're really working towards with everything that you put out in your marketing efforts. And it looks like it's trying to come up.
Thank you, Karen.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. So again, this is kind of that visual that I was trying to get y'all. So hopefully that was what you had in mind, and I explained that well enough for you. So with your brand identity, so like I said, a lot of people, when they think about brand, a lot of times they just think about logo, but it is such, so much more, even though the logo is a huge part. Obviously, when you see Visit Rockingham, bless you, when you see Visit ROCO, Visit Rockingham County, we have different variations of our logo. Each one has a specific use. we're kind of change those out depending on exactly what we're putting out there and kind of what that logo is going on, but they all have the same voice. So even though aesthetically they look slightly different, that voice remains the same. And again, that it's that consistency, making sure that you constantly have that consistency going into whatever you're putting out there for your business.
Can I add to that?
Absolutely.
I will say that you'll see later in a few slides here in just a moment where we had to actually, as Visit Rockingham County, kind of reevaluate our brand, because for the longest time, the visit side, the tourism side of Visit Rockingham County was the county's logo. Mm-hmm. So this happened, and this is the slide we're starting with, because they are actually rebrand, and it's okay to go through a rebrand. So sometimes you have to freshen up things. So we went through the first step of the rebrand. When was it? Prior to me coming on board. So 2020.
So,
2020?
Yeah. So actually, it started in 2019. It started even before I came on board. So I started in 2020. Mm-hmm. 2019, they realized that, bless you, that our blueways needed some refreshing. There was a map that was out, but we constantly had new accesses that were coming on the scene. So that map continued to get bigger and bigger and bigger, which also became more cumbersome and kind of hard to navigate, especially for those that were not inside the county and weren't familiar with our rivers. So it became very apparent that those needed to have some kind of identity. You needed to have some kind of recognition that you were on a river or a waterway in Rockingham County. So 2019, they put out a RFP. We had some people that actually submitted for that, and then COVID happened. Mm-hmm. So no decision had been made, and so everything was really put on hold, and which was kind of it was just a weird time. I'm sure everybody remembers COVID and just all the trials and tribulations that came along with that, but the trials and tribulations with COVID and putting that on hold actually worked in our favor, because simultaneously the town of Madison was working to develop Madison River Park, and they were working with Destination by Design. Destination by Design is a marketing firm out of Boone. We had never heard of them. They had not seen our RFP, therefore they had not submitted for that. So we had some conversations and we let them know, there's an RFP that had to be put on hold. We still have a little bit of time if you would like to submit. And they did, and we loved it. And the rest is kind of history.
Yeah, and I think what's important to note from this is, like, we were looking for something that was the visit side, the tourism side that was unique to just tourism, to just Visit Rockingham County. So that would set us apart. There were still components of Rockingham County's logo in there, but it was going to set us apart. I think that was the key. So that basically, because we're trying to promote an experience, a place where people want to come and visit, and then hopefully we'll have them come back here. And if you go to the next slide, that's where the next step was we started with the blueways, but then we're like, okay, we've got to look at our visit side as well. And most recently, this is where the Visit ROCO and Visit Rockingham County came in. And you can see with both of these, what's really important is that, yes, we have a lot of logos, but they're very similar and they can be used in different ways, whether they're vertical, they're horizontal. Obviously, our brand colors, and then our fonts, or I like to call it our palette, because they're very consistent. They complement each other, the Blue Way palette and the Visit palette. And that was, even though they're different, but that was on purpose, so that when we go into these a little bit further down the presentation, you can see in our marketing and some of the advertisements we do that you'll see where those kind of complement each other.
Yeah. So to Lindsay's point, we kind of did things backwards, but it's okay, right? So like she had mentioned, we unfortunately had the identity of Rockingham County government for years and years and years. But anybody that's familiar with tourism knows that tourism and government are two totally different animals. So we did things backwards. We knew that we could move forward with branding the Blue Way. And then we kind of decided to take a leap of faith. Because usually there's a whole process that goes along with when you're a county government agency, with really moving forward with kind of branding your own organization underneath that governmental umbrella. So we kind of took a leap of faith and decided, you know what, like, tourism has to have its own brand. We're getting left behind across the state with all of these other tourism organizations because all these other organizations have their own brand. They have their own voice. And so we knew that we needed to speak a slightly different language than just Rockingham County government. And then like Lindsay said, we have all these different variations. So all of this works. I feel like, not to toot our own horn, but it works really well. Because of that consistency that we have put out over the last 3 to 4 years with these branding efforts, we've become recognizable, which is important. That's important with your brand. You want somebody to quickly glance at what you're putting out there, not have to dive into the nitty gritty, every single word, all the verbiage, and be able to recognize that it's you. So that's when you know that you're doing things right in terms of branding. So when you build your brand, so we've talked a lot about logo and kind of that visual aspect of your brand, but there are so many pieces that go into that. So you have to clarify your why. Like, why are you pertinent? Why do you need to get this message out there? What is that message? You also have to know your audience, and then you have to craft your story. So Rockingham County, when we think of Rockingham County and getting out in Rockingham County and exploring, what are some things that we think of? Venues. Rivers. Nature, right? So we are very, very outdoorsy. We are super blessed here in the county to have so many recreational assets that are outdoors. So we have a plethora of trails. We have our 4 rivers. We have our 3 lakes. So that really is kind of the foundation of our story. Getting outdoors, enjoying what we have to offer in the outdoor spaces. So obviously those people that kind of tunes into that are going to be those outdoor enthusiasts. So how do you speak to them? Like visually, how do you speak to them verbally? So really trying to craft that so then that way exactly what you're putting out is going to speak to those that are most likely to come here and visit you. And then crafting your story all together. Obviously our story, huge part of our story, because we have the Blue Way, is our 4 rivers and 3 lakes. So that is a huge, huge piece of our story. But we don't want people coming here just to get on our rivers and lakes. We want them to explore more. So how do we do that? How do we entice them to do that? We obviously give them the tools that they need to kind of lead them to those other places, lead them to our trails, lead them to our venues. And sometimes people come here for our venues, but then we get them outdoors as well, if they're coming in for weddings. But then also, how do we get them to our restaurants? How do we get them to our boutiques? So really making all of those connections, telling that story about how we are so much more than our outdoor recreational assets, but here's the whole picture, which is super important, when we're advertising and marketing.
You want to try this?
Sure.
You want to do it? All right. I thought this was really cool because I had to ask Tara about this. So to yourself at your table, think about your business, and in your head, think about 3 words that you would want your customers to immediately think of when they think about your business. Because I had to ask Tara about this. I was like, because I wasn't here for this part, is when we were looking at rebranding our Blue Ways, what were those 3 words? And some of you just said it. It was flow, it was nature, outdoors, and the other one, which is kind of an interesting, was industrial. Mm-hmm. And so those 3 words are what helped tailor the fonts that we were using and the colors, the palette, and then also the way the logos look. So think of yourself, if somebody wants to share, that'd be great. What are 3 words that kind of you want your customers to think about your business? Anybody? All right.
I see Gretchen writing.
No.
No, I have more than 3, but I'll give
That's fine.
Faithful, driven, passionate, dedicated, hardworking.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
You think those words that I know I receive a lot, some of your emails and stuff. Do you think that those words are? Do you see those in your messaging in your socials and in your emails and in the work you do? Because I think you want to be able to see those words in all of those pieces. Good.
Most importantly, I want to see those words. I want people to see those words in me and how I do my business.
Right.
And then, yeah.
Awesome.
Good.
Anyone else?
There's one in the back.
Caring, confident, and professional.
Caring, confident, and professional. And who are you with? UNC Health?
UNC Health.
Awesome. Very fitting. Any others? Here?
For the chamber, I think it'd be like small business, community, helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
I also think connect, I would like to connect others with others, whether it's a small business or the community.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Perfect. Okay.
So with the next slide, this was kind of a cool we actually put these together just this week. And I was, because it's like a before and after. So what does branding that works actually do? And that's kind of the question we asked when we were looking kind of before our rebrand.
Yes,
and
I think it's
after.
important to note these are the before.
Okay. You can't see it. It just says for rebranding, but it's before. So branding that actually works. You're hoping that it helps you to attract the right customers. It makes you instantly recognizable. It helps to build repeat businesses or customers and that loyalty that you were talking about. And then it makes marketing easier, not harder. So this was our before. A couple of things that popped up to Tara when we were doing some digging trying to find these is that there is no, I think you said it, consistency. There's no consistency. I have no idea what the palette, I see some blues and greens and that's about it. Obviously the Rockingham County government logo, you see that pop up a couple of times. But I'm really like, as far as some of the ads, which are a little bit small and maybe not quite in focus on the bottom, I didn't see like what exactly is that messaging? What are we trying? What's that experience that we're trying to relay to the visitor? So this was all the before. Do you want to add anything to that?
Well, it's just, you don't look at it and immediately think of Rockingham County and visiting Rockingham County. And I think that's important because and you'll see here in just a short moment, you'll see with our after, there's a lot of consistency. Everything that we put out has that similar voice, maybe not the exact same voice, but it has a very similar voice. That makes us super recognizable, when people are flipping through Our State magazine or when they're flipping through Blue Ridge Outdoors, and they see those ads before they even really hone in on what that ad is saying. A lot of times they're like, oh, that's Visit Reco, and that's what we're trying to achieve.
I would say this was to me. This is very generic, and so there
all
was
over the place.
all over the place. But also, I'm a very competitive person, so I want Visit Rockingham County. I want Rockingham County to stand out amongst like the Alamances, the Randolph counties, Guilford, Forsyth, Stokes, all those around us. Because it's not that we're competing; it's just like what's going to make us different. And it started with our logo and that identity, and you'll see in the next slide how we were able to kind of use that and to put us on the map, to kind of help us stand out. I'll let you keep going. Yeah.
So this is obviously our after.
These are your babies.
Yes. So as you can see, everything is very outdoorsy. It has kind of those similar looks. Obviously, the logo is consistent, even though it's some similar variations. But it's recognizable in the terms of it's Visit Roco. And again, Roco, really came out of all of that branding. It first came out of the Blue Way branding, and then we, developed that into Visit Roco. But, the color palette is the same. It's not all over the place. And it's our color palette. It's not the county's. So we're really able to stand alone, really able to be recognized as, Visit Rockingham County, and really able to kind of attract people to come here, visit, and spend their dollars as well. So who likes this substantially better?
I mean,
So, honestly, going through this branding process was literally the best thing that our organization could have done, because I feel like that's when things really started to take off and Rockingham County really started to get that increased visitation. And honestly, getting a little bit more visibility and recognition from our partners across the state, which is important as well.
right. just a little bit more about this is how we also, other ways we're able to use that our new brand, and you can see it with our visitor guide, our Blue Way guide, and our quilt trail guide. All those were rebranded and republished, redesigned, I should say, and then published or printed about the same time all these happened. And then you see it with if we're out at I-77 Welcome Center, which is where that photo in the middle is, for National Tourism Week. You can see from our tent to our tablecloth to the our swag that we have, our stickers. We love Sticker Mule. Shout out Sticker Mule. Wish they would sponsor us. No, I'm just kidding. We do it in everything, so it's very consistent across the board. And that's probably one of the most fun parts is we have this awesome brand, and we're able to kind of. I tell folks when we're out at events, if you sit still long enough, I'm going to probably brand you Roco, so you better watch out. And I also tell folks, because you can be from the county, I say that you're repping the Roco. And so you can still be part. This is very much the community's logo, the county's logo, because I'm like, just go rep the Roco. So yeah.
Well, and it's funny, just a little tidbit. So Lindsay, I was talking about that she would like to just literally brand everyone with Roco. So at one point, some of our swag items were temporary tattoos. So we literally were branding people with Visit Roco.
Yeah. Come here, little.
Temporarily though. All right.
Go for it. I'll right. Jump in. This is all in your wheelhouse.
Perfect.
I'm just your what do you call it? I'm the Roco campaign manager.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
All right, so you really need to make sure that when you are putting your brand out there, that you're really trying to utilize all of your digital tools, leveraging those as much as possible, but still keeping that same voice. So obviously, we have our website. These are our digital tools: our website, our Instagram, and our Facebook pages. So everything that we put on them is going to continue to have that same voice. I think with our website, which we actually revamped a year and a half ago, the website that we currently have, I think honestly has been able to capture our voice the best in any website that we've ever had. Just the way that everything meshes together, that consistent flow, pun intended there, it all really works. And then of course with our Instagram, we just being transparent, we do actually contract with a semi-local company to help manage our Instagram, just because who has managed an Instagram, Facebook, all the socials at one time together? It can be a little cumbersome, right? Because there's such a formula that goes into it. You can't just sling something up and expect that it's going to get visibility and do well. So we do contract with them, and they do a wonderful job because they actually go out and find user-generated content for us. And then they're able to kind of regurge that back on our Instagram page. So it's a voice. It's still our voice because it's coming from Visit Rockingham County, but it's also the voice of those people that are coming here to visit because it's their pictures. So it just really allows us to continue to tell that story in a slightly different way, but just showing, how much Rockingham County has to offer for a visitor. And then, of course, our Facebook page as well, the same. We do manage that ourselves, but, a lot of the same, making sure that we're continually telling our story, making sure that we're letting people know what's happening in Rockingham County, because I think that's a big piece too. Lindsay and I both grew up in Rockingham County, and I will be the first to tell you that as a teenager, I was like, there's never anything going on in Rockingham County. How many of us have heard that? And how many of us have had that come out of our mouths, right? But as an adult, I could not imagine being anywhere else and raising my family because we do have so many wonderful things. So making sure that we are able to communicate that out and let people know that, if they're wanting to get away for the weekend, that, hey, we can go to Rockingham County. It's not that far away. And look at all this stuff that they have. They have spring festivals this weekend. They have live music. I mean, all the things, right? So that's where our Facebook really kind of comes into play. It's just really letting people know what's happening in Rockingham County.
Oh, Tara's going to jump into this in a little bit.
Yeah,
but,
so we won't go into it.
And we get asked a lot. Yes, we went with a firm, Destination by Design, but you as business owners can also build a brand, and you can build a brand on a budget. Mm-hmm. Canva is a wonderful tool to use, You can build everything from a logo to your brand, your color palettes to your fonts. And I know Tara will get into that a little bit more, so we won't spend too much time on it. But I will say Canva makes building that brand, building your that business identity really easy. You don't have to purchase the Adobe, Illustrator whole package that costs hundreds of dollars. Canva is a great way to go.
Yeah, and we'll go into this a little bit more, but there are options. So there are free options and then a paid for option as well. So.
And some other things, just kind of diving deep into like kind of the stories that we tell on our Facebook post and our Instagram, is that we do use user-generated content. So you won't see a lot of flyers posted on our socials. Yeah. We're looking for those photos that tell a story, that kind of speak to audiences statewide and even in other states, whether it's a festival or it's a farmer's stand. We want to be able to tell that story through our social channels. And what's really great is the company that we do use for our Instagram translates our post in both English and Spanish. So, yeah. Perfect. Yeah, you want to jump on that one? And that's
sure. All right, so, putting everything together. So we've kind of shouted out a lot of information at you today. So to put it all together and to make sure that if you have crafted your brand, that you are consistently doing these things, because I know I need to be rechecked every now and again to make sure that we're, staying in line and not veering too far from the beaten path that has been put out before us. So these are some things to just make sure that you're doing your own due diligence. So is your logo, does it have a visible identity? Is it consistent? Is it clear? So making sure that is in place. Do you have a brand story, a message? If not, then, go back and do some digging deep within yourself and within your business to really try to craft that. Figure out like who it is that you're trying to target. And are you able to communicate how you can serve them and why they should come to you? Am I using socials? That's super important, because if we aren't, how are people getting a message about us? How do they know about us? How do we stay in their face? Because let's be honest, print ads are expensive, or can be expensive. So having that consistency, and socials are a good way to do that, because most everybody's on some kind of social media.
And I will say, like, the magic number of what we've been told, what we found, is anywhere from 1 to 3 posts a week. And honestly, with the Meta suite now, they actually tell you when you should post,
visibility,
when you're going to get the most visibility. But what we're aiming for every week is at least 1 to 3 posts, usually 3, well, on the high end, a week for our Instagram, and then for our Facebook as well.
Right. And again, kind of going back to one of the things that Lindsay had touched on, the type of content that you put on socials is just as important as actually posting on social itself, if not more important. So we see a lot of times flyers that are being put up as a social post. Those aren't always going to get the most traction and visibility. You really need to have some kind of like picture, something that's going to be attention grabbing, because how many of us just kind of mindlessly scroll Facebook? Yeah, especially at night when we're trying to wind down. So pay attention to the things that, as you are mindlessly scrolling, pay attention to those things that grab your attention and make you stop for at least half a second. Even if you don't read everything that is posted along with that post, like, pay attention. Is it a flyer that has a lot of words on it? Or is it a picture with minimal words or no words at all? So I think that's, super important, making sure your content is good.
We've actually been trying to kind of figure this out. Short form video. So your stories and your reels are key. If you can look at those, I know some of us don't have the capacity to always shoot those, but we're talking about a 15 to 30 second, just quick video. You don't even have to put any words on it, but you can. I think those speak just volumes, and they really do get you. If you 15 seconds will get somebody's attention, will grab it, and that's really what we've been trying to work towards. We need to do more of those. We would love to do at least 1 reel a month. Sometimes that's hard, but having 1 story, 1 reel a month is that's a goal for us at least.
Right. And then kind of stepping back and looking and trying to figure out if customers can quickly describe like who you are and what you stand for. So hopefully, if you weren't familiar with Visit Rockingham County, hopefully after today, you're going to walk away saying, oh, Visit Rockingham County, they're outdoorsy and they're, blueways and waterways and trails and all the things. So, really kind of step back and make sure that those things that you are putting out there that are supposed to have your brand, have that voice, have that story that are able to allow people to know exactly who you are.
And we do have a kind of a logo brand checklist. We'll leave these at everybody's tables. But we'll open it up for any questions that anyone may have. Joey?
I don't have a question, but I want to comment. When talking about build a story, I read a good book, Donald Miller. I don't know if he's the author of the book, but it's Story Brand.
Mm-hmm.
Great way to figure out a way to communicate to your audience quickly what you do and what
Right.
you're about.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we think more is better. It's really short is better.
Right.
And clarity. So I'd encourage. I'm not a promoter for government, but it definitely helped us when we were trying to recreate our story.
Absolutely. And that was Donald Miller, right?
Donald Miller.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any questions, comments? Yeah.
Like for a business, okay, once you establish that image and logo consistency, the two targets are gonna be like new customers and also retaining
Mm-hmm.
customers. In your situation that you've gone over, how does your logo and the branding and consistency tie into not just visitors, but businesses?
Like the businesses that are within.
And attracting businesses.
Oh, okay. So that's actually a totally different part of our office. So our office consists of economic development and tourism. So Lindsay has actually said this multiple times, and it's so very true. Tourism is kind of the front door of economic development, right? So if we are putting our stories out there, and let's say that we have an industry that is looking to potentially relocate or locate here to Rockingham County, they're going to be doing their research and their due diligence to kind of see what kind of atmosphere we have here in Rockingham County, because their employees are going to be submerged into that atmosphere, right? So our story with that part is that we are letting them know that your employees, if you come here, which this is an undertoned message, it's not an in-your-face message, but if you come here, your employees are going to have ample things to do. They're going to be happy employees. They're going to be, there's outdoor recreation that they can get out and do, so they're going to be healthy employees. So it just kind of paints that picture without necessarily saying that verbatim, but it just lets that employee know, or that employer know, that if we go there and we plant our roots there, then our employee base is going to be pretty strong and happy.
I was just kind of curious, does the brand and image, is that continuity in both things?
So the voice definitely is. So currently, economic development, that particular side of our office does operate under county government's brand and logo. So with the socials and advertisements that we put out, though, specific to economic development, we make sure that we put that story out there and that availability out there. So even though yes and no, it doesn't have its own standalone, because Rockingham County government as a whole is very large, and there's a lot of, different moving parts to that. There still are part of that story within that logo, if that makes sense. So anybody that's not familiar with our logo, and it took me and when I say our logo, I'm talking specifically now about Rockingham County government's logo. If you look at that, it took me years to figure out what that logo is. I always wanted to straighten it up because it looks like a crooked square. But actually, if you would go back to the slide that has the before pieces, I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. Yeah. So, and I don't know if you can see that from all the way back there. It looks like an kind of off kiltered square, but it's actually the shape of Rockingham County. So it is bringing in all those pieces of Rockingham County. So even though it covers, like I said, many, many departments, it still has that voice, and then we continue to tell that story past that, if that makes sense. So when you have county government, or when you are part of a huge agency, but you kind of have your own individual thing going on, you have to kind of tailor that specifically to you, which is a little bit harder, let's be honest, because, you do want to be able to stand alone, but logistically you have to stand as a group too. So that story, that's where that becomes essential, in making sure that you're consistent with that, that you're really getting that out there and telling that well. I hope that helps. You're welcome. Any other questions? Comment?
This isn't, I was gonna say, it's not a question, but I just want to, I appreciate that you guys are, fun and young, and you bring, a vitality to it, because even with the logo, it looks very modern and very chic, and so I think that sometimes with such a rural county, it could be easily, stuff would look outdated or kind of old-fashioned,
Right.
but you guys do a fantastic job of making stuff look fresh and full of life. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And thank you. And so we use, I'm glad you said that, because we like to think that draws visitors here, and you never know who that visitor is going to be. Whether we'd love for them to come here, obviously hopefully they'll spend their money, they'll walk downtown, and if they come back, fantastic. They may, because of the way things are being marketed, they may look at our website, our visitor guide, and say, look, this is such a unique place, and then they'll maybe let's move there. We have, there's a ton of folks coming into the county and moving here, and then you never know, they may decide to open a business here, or it just, when we're marketing, you always think, okay, what could this turn into? Who could this family that we bring into, would they want to pull their family here and move here just because they love the downtown feel, and that they have that small town feel, but we're still cutting edge and we're at the top of the game, hopefully. That's what they're thinking.
And I think that too also just goes to show that it's all of the pieces working together. So that logo, that visual identity is important, but it's the way that you tell that story. That's where it becomes super important, because you're not going to be successful just in the way that your logo looks. Really kind of bringing all those pieces together, being consistent, being upbeat and fun. Because if we got on socials and we're like, come to Rockingham County, it's a great place to be, we would love to have you here, nobody's going to come here, right? So you have to have that vibrancy, and you have to have that tone of fun that you want to be there. Kind of giving them that sense of FOMO, fear of missing out. So if we don't go to Rockingham County, we're going to miss out on all of these great
YOLO
things that they
as
have.
well.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
The yin to my yang, ladies and gentlemen.
And we didn't get to show these, but I would say we have put out a couple of commercials as well. You're not going to see them if you live in the county, but depending on the markets that we're targeting at the time, our commercials also speak to everything that Tara just said, as far as the story we're trying to tell, the audience that we're trying to engage, and it's everything. It's not necessarily just outdoor recreation. I know we speak a lot to that, but that's a key thing to grab people, but also it is our unique downtowns. It is our venues. It's our spaces. It's the places to shop, our retail, our places to eat, and, our vineyards and such. So there is a lot that Rockingham County has to offer, and we will continue to do our best to promote that through the brand and through the brand that we have right now. So we're not changing anytime soon, I hope.
And if you have an opportunity, I think we're getting ready to have a break here in just a couple of minutes. We do have some swag items up here. Unfortunately, they're just for display today. But if you want to just come kind of take a peek and kind of see the things that we have put out there to kind of continue to help tell that story, to kind of grab people, by all means, please come up here and just take a peek at that, because you'll notice that even though everything looks different, it still looks like the same, and that's exactly what you want to do. You want to have options, things that are going to grab different people, all the things. Also, if you want to kind of take a peek at our guides as well, we do have those displayed up here, so you can just kind of see the consistency across each one. And then if you decide that you would love to have these guides because they're so wonderful in your business to give out to people as they come in and they're trying to explore Rockingham County, by all means, please let us know. We would love to deliver some personally to you guys.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.